I've always messed around with art in some way. I had a watercolor set that I painted with when I was little. I had paint by number sets. I had a John Nagy drawing set when I was a little kid, and I just kept with it. So I would draw projects for school, and I always enjoyed getting into color. I was an art major at Miami University, a painting major, and I started working at Gibson Greeting Cards from that point, and I was with Gibson Greeting Cards for 20 years, doing various different things in the creative department. So yeah, I've spent a lot of time in art, plus trying to paint on my own. I did take an art class in high school. I went to a very small country school, and the gentleman that taught art also taught Spanish. And he really didn't know a lot about art, but I did learn how to make wheat paste. So for a year, I felt like that was my accomplishment for learning art, and I didn't take it my senior year. So I think my parents were surprised when I became an art major at Miami. I did a lot of things at Gibson Greeting Cards. I did finishing drawings for stuff they do by computer now, where we would by hand use a rapidograph pen and draw the little curly Q drawings for gold leaf or embossing die cuts. And then I worked in the department where they were actually creating artwork. I did repeat patterns for gift wraps. That was probably my favorite thing to do there. And some design work for Garfield cards and other kinds of greeting cards. It was a good learning experience. I left Gibson after being there for 20 years, and I worked for a publisher for a year, just trying to figure out what I was going to do. Then I went into sales, and I sold fundraising materials, working with schools and nonprofits, and that was fun, and it let me set my own schedule, so I had more time to paint. I really started working at home, working with other teachers like Greg Storr, David Mueller, and that's when I really had time to concentrate on painting. Well, my main medium is oil paint, and I never call myself a pastelist, but I love to work with pastels. They're fast, they're just so easy, and I use them to make studies for larger paintings. So I don't really do anything with pastels because I don't like framing things under glass, but they give me a real leg up when it comes time to do a large painting, so I know exactly what the painting is going to look like before I start. Oil paint was my concentration at Miami, and that's what I used for most of the workshops and training that I did. I like it because it seems to be a more expressive medium to use. I like the rich color and the glossiness and the different kinds of effects you can get with stroke and surface. So I just think it's a great expressive medium. My themes I like to paint are kind of all over the place. There's a good guy in town that I was next to at his show, and he looked at my paintings and he said, "Man, you're all over the place." And I looked at his paintings, and all his paintings were of 3 trees. All of them, 3 trees. Different colors, different sizes, but 3 trees. And I thought, I couldn't focus on something like that and keep interest in it long enough. So you see my work, I like to paint cats. I like to paint farm scenes. I grew up on a farm. I like to paint things that really look like Ohio. I like to paint landscapes around Cincinnati that have people in them. I've gotten away from doing street scenes that are bare of people. I've realized that they just kind of look too deserted. So that's my thing. You'll see a lot of stuff you can recognize around Cincinnati, and my paintings often tell a story. And I think that's probably what I enjoy about painting the most, is the storytelling. Well, I call myself an everyday painter. It's different around the holidays, of course, but I kick my year off in January by doing a painting a day. They're 5x7s usually, and sometimes I prepare it in ahead so I know what my subject's going to be, and sometimes I just come down to the studio in the morning and I look for my next painting. And I paint 30 paintings in 30 days, and that kicks off my year so I get back in the groove of working every day. So then I start on something big. There's 2 children. That's my greatest accomplishment. So I'm very proud of my kids. They're both adults now. I've got a grandson, and everybody's in art. My husband does sculpture. My son does theater set design. My daughter's a painter. So we're all in the business in some way. I do have some collectors that come back and they're always looking at my work, and they'll pick up another piece now and then. And I let them know where I'm showing. Lately it's been more like street fairs like Hyde Park, Trillium, over on the west side of town. We do some really good shows, but I'm doing more contests now. It just seems like there are more opportunities to get some notoriety or whatever you want to call it. And galleries have just not been on fire lately. You know, I'm looking, would love to have another gallery, but you know, the last one that Tim and I were both in, he had sculpture in it, has closed. And I just don't think there's a ton of opportunities, but there's a couple new places in town that we're checking out, and hope to be back in a gallery scene soon. It's hard work to sell your own work. And I really have never wanted to set up my website to have prices on it, because I like to use it as a portfolio instead of giving a gallery owner the impression I'm competing with him. So that's my idea about sales. I'm working on a project now that is a diptych, and I've never done a diptych before, so I'm kind of learning as I go along. I'm not sure whether the pieces should be marketed only together as one piece, which I think maybe they should. And if that's the case, do you sign both of them, or do you possibly sell them separately? Or, you know, so I'm trying to make up my mind on that. But this is the bottom part of the painting. It's not finished yet. I still have to put some things in here, but it's a street scene from downtown, from Main Street, after the Bachfest parade. And last year I painted this, which is titled Second Story. And it's the second floor of the same building. It's people that are upstairs at the same time. These people are downstairs. And there's conversation going on. And when I title things, I sort of like to have two meanings in them. So this one is, you know, there's a story here, and it is the second story of the building. So kind of having some fun with that. I don't know if that'll stay up there. But anyway, I've got matching frames that are not very wide. They're just floater frames. And I am going to show them together. I may have to tweak the colors in the top painting to get it to look like it goes with the bottom painting a little bit better. But someday these paintings will be shown together as one piece.